Welcome into Cornhusker Connection. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined with the fellas as always, Tyler Sprinkle and Brooke Byrne. Holy smokes, what a good weekend of college football we have coming up. I feel like I say that every weekend, but this weekend I also mean it as much as I meant it the other weekends. How you doing, fellas?
Good.
Also good.
Fantastic stuff. Lots of enthusiasm getting started early here. Well, first thing I kind of wanted to dive into, a couple of big things happened since the last time we've been on. First of all, the new college football playoff rankings are out. The first one with the CFP committee. So just kind of diving into that. Thought it was interesting that they put Ohio State number one. It seemed like that. It makes a lot of sense to me, but it seemed like kind of a somewhat off the beaten path because considering the AP and the coaches poll have been Georgia, Michigan, no swip swap in that all year. So it's just kind of nice to see some variety. Did they get it right?
They have the best resume. I mean, they have 2 top 10 wins.
It just seems to me inconsistent. Like, I understand why Ohio State's won, and they probably deserve it the most, so they got that one right. But after that, what have Georgia and Michigan really done to be 2 and 3?
Yeah, that's kind of inconsistent. It's been how I've felt at it because the only reason why Michigan, because obviously Ohio State, yeah, they have the 2 top 15 wins. They have the best resume. So now we're going off a resume. We're setting that precedent early. But Georgia and Michigan both have strength of records outside of the top 100, which is crazy. Yeah, and then you have so then now we're setting a second precedent where it's about the eye test. Okay, well then Washington is ahead of Oregon, but the eye test would absolutely tell us that Oregon's the better football team, but they have the head-to-head, so that is what it is. So you're setting that precedent that it's best resume and eye test and head-to-head, and then you're going to have Texas ranked ahead of Oklahoma. That contradicts all of that. It's like it seems like they pick and choose kind of where they like to implement these precedents.
The last one I understand more just because Oklahoma losing to Kansas is a little different than Texas losing to Oklahoma. I mean, they both lost in the same way in the final drive. So it's just that one seems like it's more recent. So you have to drop Oklahoma to keep them ahead of Texas after they laid a clunker like that would kind of be crazy in my eyes. I don't know if you guys feel differently, but
I think just
I was going to say the exact same thing.
And I get where you're coming from, but then it's like, well, Washington looked like shit against Arizona State and Stanford. Granted, they won, which is, at the end of the day, just win. But it just feels strange that in that set, you value the head-to-head more than you value the eye test versus the other way where you value the eye test more than the head-to-head. Because it's so very few and far between where we get these situations. We're usually comparing like Florida State and Texas or Oregon and Alabama or whatever. But we have these instances where these teams they played each other just a few weeks ago. We saw what happens when these two teams are on, and especially in Oklahoma, Texas's case, on a neutral field. Now, yeah, I do agree. You can't lose to Kansas. Well, Kansas is also ranked, so it's not like they've lost to Kansas of past. But I always like to value head-to-head if applicable. They have the same record, and they have the head-to-head there. So I just felt like that was a bit weird.
I think at the end of the season, if they both finish 11-1, you'll see Oklahoma probably jump Texas again for that very reason. But they just lost 4 days ago, so you have to send a message and drop them. It's just the only reason I think is Oklahoma lost more recently.
And they're also coming off 2 straight games of looking pretty poor. So it's that too. But you guys are sitting here saying like, oh, it doesn't make sense. Would you change the rankings? Because I wouldn't. I think it's fine where it is.
I think there's not anything too egregious. I just think I would put Florida State and Washington right now ahead of Georgia and Michigan because both of them have played top 25 teams. I'd probably go, honestly, Ohio State 1, Florida State 2, Washington 3.
Yeah,
just because of who they've played up to this point. Now, when Michigan beats Penn State or someone else, then you can move them back up. But Michigan and Georgia haven't played anyone inside the top. Well, I think Georgia played Kentucky, who was 25, but
yeah, the best win is a Florida team who's going to go 6-6 at best, and or they struggled against a 2-6 South Carolina team. And, we just went on this whole spiel about how, okay, well, it seems like they're valuing recency and what have you done for me lately? And here's, yeah, we did see Oklahoma beat Texas 4 weeks ago, but last week they look like two different teams. So that's why we want Texas ahead. Georgia and Michigan haven't done anything since 2022, right? So it's
no.
like, okay, so now you're going and making a new precedent where it's like, well, yeah, these guys are now we're going to value Georgia because they won all these national championships recently. So it's just a lot of inconsistency here. And I guess would I change it? Probably not. Probably not. I guess it's fine. And I'm not going to, storm the CFP Capitol or anything about it. But it's just I'm with people who make such important decisions. It's comforting to me to try to figure out where they're at least thinking. And I can't really pick apart what they're valuing over what.
I just think it's weird right now. If the season holds as is, where you have 5 undefeated teams, who would you leave out? Because right now they're saying Washington, but Washington's proved more up to this point than Georgia and Michigan, I believe. But
yeah, and granted, yeah, and all of this will get sorted out. Like we've hardly ever had a real, well, this 5th team should have gotten in, or this 6th team should, get a crack at it. So it'll all work itself out. But and you mentioned that you have Florida State over Washington, but I would argue that Washington has the best win in America with that win over Oregon. Granted, recently they have struggled against lesser opponents.
Has
And
Washington played anybody else though?
Not really. No, they play USC this week. I think that's about it for them, but not up to this point.
I also think it kind of matters too where they value these conferences, like how they rank the conferences. I think matters to them as well. So, like, you can make the argument that the Pac-12 is the best conference this year, and I would agree with that. But top to bottom, I think like the Big Ten and the SEC are better than the Pac-12 all around, and certainly over the ACC.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The ACC and well, I don't know. The Pac-12 is pretty deep this year. I think they have the most ranked teams. And even like Arizona might be ranked here soon, and Colorado's not awful, and Wazoo. I would argue the Pac-12 is the best conference in the country, but you'll always have the ESPN homers and SEC people where every year the SEC will always get that bias and we're in the best conference in America, which is bullshit. But
I think that's starting to kind of fade. Like, yeah, people still talk about it, but it's clear that they're not the creme de la creme of college football anymore. Like, I think these other conferences are starting to come around and give them a run for their money.
Yeah. Well, you think like the SEC is the best. Week 1, LSU got their shit beat in by Florida State. I just feel like, especially in bowl games too, anytime the SEC has to play someone outside, they get rocked, except for the top 2 teams, Georgia and Alabama, in the CFP when they go there. It's very top heavy, and then after that, it's a steep drop off.
Yeah, and I get that same argument like against the Big Ten because they've had Michigan and Ohio State propping it up, but the SEC does the same thing, except the difference is that in the SEC you get that 4th non-conference game, so a 6-6 team is a 7-5 team now, and so that just looks better. The records are better. They're beating up on these MAC schools and FCS schools in November, and I don't think if you take away the outliers, if you take away Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, I think these conferences are very comparable. And I don't think that And I think it's been like that for quite some time now. And even looking at the Pac-12, they don't have that heavy hitters up top, but 2 through 10 are as good of a 2 through 10 and in the country.
I just think bowl records, especially because you get so much time to prepare for them, and normally it's a pretty even matchup. Obviously, there's some with injuries that become lopsided. You look at these conferences bowl records, and year in and year out, the SEC has the worst. It's usually the Big Ten and Big 12 have two of the better ones, but as of late, the Pac-12 is kind of coming around too now. It's just mind blowing to me how I understand they get the most 4 and 5 star recruits, but if that doesn't translate to wins over teams outside their conference, then what are we talking about?
So oddly enough, I did put together a model last year while we were doing this podcast to try to illustrate that same point, and it ended up just proving that the SEC was better. Here, let me share this here.
Yeah, was the Big 12, did they win the most last year?
No, it was the SEC. But it was the whole point of this model was to prove Brooke's point. Like, well, when they're playing other teams, then it's so. But yeah, it ended up being because the thing was that it was so weighted in the playoff, and Georgia, beat up on no. What happened was the Big Ten laid an egg in the playoff. If they had won either of those games, then they would have won this model. But essentially, I weighted it by points. So you get so many points if you play. If you win a bowl game, you get so many more points if you win a New Year's Six bowl games, and then you get double those points if you win a playoff game, excluding the national championship. I would have included the national championship if it hadn't been for Georgia, but it was so pretty comparable. But you see, to Brooke's point, it's not that big of a gap between the SEC, the ACC, and the Big Ten as far as this propaganda that those folks down south push.
Especially this year, too. I'll defend the ACC a little bit. Their bottom tier teams are probably some of the worst in Power 5. But this year you have Louisville, you have North Carolina, you have Duke. I'm sure I'm missing another one there, just blanking on one. But Clemson's having a down year. Miami's up and down, but definitely not two nobody programs. So
really rooting for a Florida State Virginia Tech ACC championship game.
That would be wild.
Can't wait.
That would not help Florida State's case.
I love it. I mean, it feels like now they got to win against Louisville, so it's not going to happen. But man, the college football sicko in me would appreciate it.
That would be like 7-5 Purdue being in the Big Ten championship.
Well, but it's even crazier because the Big Ten has a model built that way. So a 7-5 Purdue can make the Big Ten championship game. But the ACC did away with divisions to avoid this very same thing. It's like, well, if Florida State's good, we want them and Clemson playing together. We want Drake May and Jordan Travis dueling out. Now they're going to get team that got boat raced by Rutgers and Purdue, if I'm not mistaken. And then now they're on the big spotlight. So that's outstanding.
Yeah. It's crazy to me sometimes, like you're seeing it with Nebraska and Virginia Tech too, how in the middle of the years, a switch can just flip and they start playing some good football. Because, like you said, Purdue might be the worst team in the Big Ten and beat Va-Tech, and Va-Tech goes to the ACC championship game. That would be wild.
I love it. I mean, that's the beauty of college football is that, and that's why I don't. One of the downsides that I think to this huge level of expansion is that it's going to get so much harder for these teams like Virginia Tech to sneak into the ACC championship game. And football, if you just get on the same field, you don't know what can happen. So, and I feel like we're losing that a little bit, but.
Yeah, but to go back to the original point, I wouldn't change anything about the college football playoff rankings. I think you got to set like a baseline. I think they did that really well. I mean, we're still we still have a lot of weeks to go, so this can change drastically or not at all. I mean, depending on how the rest of the season goes. So nobody's like hard stuck somewhere. I see what you guys are saying is why they put Ohio State 1 is because of the resume, but then everybody else, like, how did they do it? So it makes sense what you guys are saying, but I think as the first one. Now, if this was like the fourth or fifth one that they did and it was like this, then you could be a little concerned about what the hell's going on there. But I think it's the first one. I think it's a good baseline to set.
Yeah. Another
I
thing I
just
thought
think
was, oh, go ahead.
9 times out of 10, this stuff always has a way of working itself out, and you get what you earn. So there is that one-off year of the 6 teams with the like we talked about last week, the Big 12, having 3 one-loss teams down. That was crazy, but I don't know.
Well, and the thing that really made that so crazy is that TCU, I think at the time, either TCU or Baylor, they were in the top 4 at the time, but that was before they had the Big 12 championship game. So yeah, TCU's final game, they blew out Iowa State by a bajillion. But then you have a team like Ohio State who wins a Big 10 championship with their third quarterback, and they looked outstanding. So now you're like, well, I just saw this team, and it goes to recency and how they value conference championship games. And so I think that's a different circumstance than anything that we'll see this year. But like you said, it'll all work itself out. There's not a doubt in my mind that by the end of it, we're like, okay, these are the 4 teams.
I think no matter the conference, if you have 1 or less losses and you have a conference championship, it would be hard to keep you out.
Yeah. Because I don't think that we've kept out a 1-loss conference champion who's won a conference championship game.
Yeah, I don't think so. So the formula is there for whoever wants it.
For sure. Another thing I thought was interesting, and I think Brooke had hinted on this a little bit when we talk about who's going to get that group of 5 bid. Air Force has been undefeated. They've been ahead of Tulane in the AP polls since Tulane's lost to Ole Miss. But the playoff committee had them flip-flop where not Purdue, they basically are a group of 5 team this year. Tulane is now ahead of Air Force. And I would assume that as long as they both win out, that'll stay the way that it is, which makes sense. But
Tulane played Ole Miss pretty tough for 3 quarters, and I just think the AAC is a tougher conference than the Mountain West. Now, if Fresno State would have stayed ranked somehow and Air Force beats them, I could see you making a case for Air Force being ahead of them. But as it stands, they're not going to come close to playing a ranked team. So
I think it goes back to the bias. They lost to an ACC or an SEC team and not some other conference. So I think that has something to do with it too.
It definitely could. But when you look at those 2 conferences as a whole, I think it's – and what Tulane did last year in the bowl games, they won a New Year's 6 game against Heisman winner. So it shouldn't matter what you did in years prior, but somehow it always does.
I would just say it's tough to use the conference strength, I think, because the best 4 AAC teams the last 3 years are no longer in the conference.
True.
Minus Tulane, of course. They won it last year, so outside of them. So I don't know how good the AAC is compared to years past. But at best, it's not a worse conference in the Mountain West. So it's tricky. On one hand, I like the thought of getting a team like Air Force and how cool that would be to see them on a big stage, especially if they have this great undefeated season. That should absolutely get rewarded. But on the flippity flop, you do have this Tulane team who scheduled a game against Ole Miss, and the kind of I like that to be rewarded as well, even though it didn't shape up and they didn't get blown out by any means. Ole Miss ran away with it late.
And they played it without their QB1 too, which they probably win if he plays. The fall off from their number 2 to their number 1 is pretty big.
Yeah. Well, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the 2024 schedule got released for Nebraska. Just kind of go over this real quick. We start off at home against UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois. Go on the road to Purdue. Come back home against Rutgers, at Indiana, at Ohio State. Host UCLA, go to USC, host Wisconsin, and then go to Eastern Iowa. I hear a lot of folks complain about like the strength of the schedule and how tricky and how tough it is, but that's just, I mean, that's what it's going to be now. And
Do
I really like how the schedule is shaped up.
we don't have Penn State. Our toughest one's Ohio State, right?
Yep, Ohio State's and USC, both on the road. So I guess that's not a great draw, but yeah, those are the two toughest games.
And we don't play on Black Friday anymore. I saw that.
Oh.
They moved it to Saturday instead.
Is that going to be a long-term thing? I thought, because I know that during the Mike Riley administration, they had moved to make that a Saturday game, but I thought it had gotten reverted back at some point. Because that would be really disappointing if that's not just a.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember that it got moved. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not a long-term thing because I think
that's
it's
one-off
kind
thing.
of a fun thing.
I hope so, because I mean, I think that is pretty cool. Granted, it's not like the same kind of cachet as Nebraska, Colorado, or Nebraska, Oklahoma back in the heyday, but it's nice to have that.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But yeah, I really like how the schedule got drawn up. Obviously, should be a pretty manageable slate those first 7 games, but we have a real chance to go into Ohio State 7-0, 6-1. 5-2 at the worst.
I truly believe next year, especially once Caleb Williams is gone, UCLA is going to be a tougher game than USC. I think USC is on the downslide right now, and once they don't have a Heisman winner to lean back on, I think they're going to be pretty bad.
I think that's a fair critique. I would like to see more than one Lincoln Riley quarterback not end up as a Heisman finalist before I write that as a plus. Granted, whoever it is probably can't be as good as Caleb Williams most likely, but I mean, it just seems like he grows Heisman finalist quarterbacks on trees.
But it'll be interesting to see in the Big Ten, where defense matters a lot, how a team like USC, who plays zero defense, fares.
Yeah.
Because you saw USC play Notre Dame, and I know Notre Dame's not a Big Ten team, but they kind of play that brand of football where they like to run the ball, play defense, and they got beat by 20 in North Bend. So I just don't see them coming into the Big Ten and lighting everybody up like the Pac-12 like that.
So last thing before we kind of dive into our pick'ems from last week, some news out of Eastern Iowa. They will be releasing Brian Ferentz of his duty after the season, which is very tragic. Hate to see it happen. I'm bummed. I wish he'd be. I wish he'd be there forever. How fun would that be?
It was great while he was here, averaging 230 yards of offense this year. You can't draw that up as a rival.
Outstanding stuff. I mean, it's crazy that it's taken this long, but
what are you shaking your head at, you mother?
I mean, we're back on this discussion again about whether or not Iowa's a rival. I thought we put this to bed a long time ago.
All right, as a team we dislike in our conference, are you happy?
Yeah. So I think I was the one mostly against calling Iowa a rival, and I've come around. It's a rivalry. It was very pompous of me to say that it wasn't, because I felt like Nebraska was on such a different level. And I guess historically, yeah, Nebraska is on a different level, but it is what it is. It's 2023 now. They're a rival.
Pompous, great word.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's. I feel like whenever you hear people talk trash about how arrogant Nebraska fans are, they're mostly just talking about me. I'm like, yeah, this is this is me.
Love that.
And actually, one last thing, Nebraska related. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a hit piece on Trev Alberts from his
I did
time
not
at
see
UNO. Yeah, so there was a memo that went out among the UNO administration talking about how poor their finances are, in part due to Trev Alberts' irresponsibility handling the finances at UNO. I think there was even a vague accusation of disguising losses as revenue, which I don't know. I'm no legal expert, but that's fraud. So if that's true, then but
No legal.
I, but my more than anything, I think it's just a hit piece to ward off any potential teams in Ohio who are looking to fill that same role in the next 18 months or so.
Dude,
I mean,
stop
you don't want to
bringing
hire
it
Trev
up.
Alberts.
Oh,
I mean, you don't want to
he's
hire
not
this guy. He
going.
can't handle money.
You're the worst. You're the worst person I've ever met.
If it happens, I might not talk to Brandon anymore
Yeah, this is
because
going to
he's
be
just speaking it into existence, and it's
it's going
pissing
to be
me
the
off.
Tyler and Brooke podcast here if
Yeah.
he leaves for Ohio State.
Yeah, we might have
I
to lock Brandon in a dog cage for this podcast going forward.
I mean, I don't want it to happen. I love Trev Alberts, but I am just preparing myself for the heartbreak of seeing him leave us for, the Death Star.
Just
I
like
can't speak.
I know you're a bigger Colorado fan than you are a Nebraska fan. You're also a way bigger Ohio State fan than you are a Nebraska fan, you piece of shit.
So I'd argue both of those points. Ohio State is absolutely out of the question. But I have come around to being more of a Nebraska. What I've noticed is that I always root for whose fan base annoys me the least. Where I felt like there was still a lot of hungover arrogance on the last time these two teams played a home and home. That pissed me off about Nebraska fans. And Colorado had, been in the dumps for a decade and a half, and they kind of seemed more of like the woe was me. We need this win more. And I feel like those roles have reversed, and especially with the Coach Prime saga. I mean, that couldn't have happened to a worse fan base. So I'm still a Colorado fan. I still like Colorado. I'm still rooting for them, but I do wince at the thought of those fans getting joy.
It's like you're a Red Sox and a Yankees fan. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
You need to figure it out.
I'm just a fan of college. I'm just a fan of ball. Yes. Don't blame me for loving ball.
Back to the Trev Alberts thing real quick. I can't speak to any of the financial stuff. If any of that's true, that's really bad. Like legal Brandon laid out for us. But from what I know about Trev Alberts, and obviously me and Tyler, UNO guys, everything he did in his tenure as AD there bettered UNO, taking them to Division I. Obviously made some tough decisions cutting wrestling, which was probably UNO's best sport at the time. But money-wise, taking them to D1 was definitely the move, and then having a hand in getting Baxter Arena built for the hockey program and basketball and volleyball. I thought his time there was great in what led him to getting the UNL job. So it would be hard for me to think that he gets a bigger job in state with financial problems in his tenure there.
You also saved him a lot of money by cutting those programs.
Exactly.
So I don't know where. I think you're right. It could be some just a nobody come looking for Trev because he's a bad guy kind of thing, or somebody just has it out for him. I'm not sure, but it doesn't sound like the Trev Alberts that we, at least on the surface, know. So I'd be hard pressed to believe that story.
And especially with Nebraska being like a small town feel, like nobody's private life is private in Nebraska. So this seems like nonsense to me, but
yeah, my genuine theory is that because like you said, he really evolved the university and that athletic program and to a point where, I mean, it's probably unrecognizable in the best way compared to 25 years ago or so. And you also got, so this article recollected his time. By the way, I read the entire thing. I understood very little of it. So I'm not exactly sure what they're accusing him of, but I know two things. One, his time ended towards the end of COVID. So he had to deal with COVID. Every school lost a bunch of money. Every school's finances got turned upside down. They did get a lot of assistance from the feds. So that's not like a total excuse, but that's one thing, is that it was towards this crazy time in financial history. And then everybody who's at the top of UNO right now, who's kind of leading this spearhead, is all new. They're all new people. So it's very, my dumb guy theory is that, okay, well, the finances aren't great. They haven't been great since he left. We can just kind of shift some words and kind of make it look like we inherited this mess. Because you're absolutely right. Nebraska is going to vet this guy more thoroughly, and his decisions and his finances, as much as any UNO job would. And now, and not only that, but they're obviously letting him take the reins. He's got this $450 million renovation project in the works. You don't give a guy like that the keys to the power if you have any concern about his financial decision making. So it was a weird thing to see, because I do think of Trev so highly. So I just didn't know if you guys had dove into that at all. And you guys are more money guys than I do, so maybe you read that article and you understand more of what's going on.
Where did the article come out on? Like what website?
That's a good question. Let me
Because
find
that's
that
important.
Here. It was it seemed like this is the Flatwater Free Press.
That shit's fake, dude. You read a fake article.
That's
no
not
wonder
fake.
you didn't understand anything.
No. It's not fake.
They probably
Hey,
just
Brandon,
they probably
that
wrote
was-
like 10 paragraphs, and then the rest is just blah 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 blah, and then finish it up with more actual words.
That was the equivalent of me thinking the Brian Ferentz press conference was real.
Yeah.
No,
Well, at least that's, I can get behind you on that one because it was a video, but this guy's out here reading something that some guy in Iowa in his basement wrote.
No shot. I don't think you. No. You guys are. No. I consume a lot of fake news, but this isn't it.
Dude.
As I'm currently vetting all the authors of this article. Yeah, I mean,
and if it were a real story, it would definitely not be there.
So it's not a real story in the sense of like there's any like actual action or any actual accusations of any wrongdoing. What I think happened was that an eternal memo got leaked, and now the Flatwater Free Press, which has real credentialed journalists.
I need to look this shit up. I need to look it up.
Yeah, I just sent it to you guys. It's not CNN reporting this, or not a major news outlet.
And it could be a very real story to your defense, but just the name of that fucking article or whoever wrote it,
yeah,
that just does not sound encouraging.
Yeah, you know what? I don't blame your guys' skepticism there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Tyler's not dialed into it right now, but we do have a football game actually this Saturday. So, Michigan State's Nebraska, I think last time I checked, like a 3-point favorite against the hosting Spartans, or right around there, pretty close to.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I feel awful about this game.
Oh no.
So there's an account on Twitter that I really trust that gives out like the Vegas numbers, like which teams are the most bet on. And I know I sat here and said this against Colorado, but what I forgot to realize is when you're betting, there's a difference in the first 6 weeks, Vegas is trying to feel everybody out. And then like 7 through 15, Vegas usually cleans up. And 91% of the tickets are on Nebraska -3, which Vegas doesn't lose a whole lot. I mean, they will take some losses, and maybe this game will not be bet on enough for it to matter. Maybe Nebraska is just a better team, and Vegas does have to take the loss. But in my mind, that raises some red flags where they think Nebraska's been playing so good, this could be a letdown spot. Young guys on the road. I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this one.
Yeah, a couple of things that make me a little uneasy. First of all, going on the road in the Big Ten's never going to be easy. And then I just have the sickly feeling that Michigan State's better than we think they are. And I have no objectiveness to back that up. They've been actually very awful this season. Anytime you watch them, anytime you look at the stats, they've been awful. But it's just, and some of this is probably more brand recognition than anything. But it just feels like it does kind of feel like a good letdown spot. Now, if I'm going to sell you on it, I feel like this team as is has handled situations fairly well, as far as we're not going to let this moment get too big. We're not going to overlook this moments, 1-0 every week. And everything that Matt Rule is preaching feels especially poignant for a game like this, where you're right. You do come in at winning, 4 or 5 in a row, 5 out of 6, and feeling really good. It definitely feels like a letdown spot, but I also believe that Matt Rule is kind of the perfect guy to kind of steer the ship here.
Yeah, I do think it's a double-edged sword having a bunch of young guys going on the road in the Big Ten, where they are all young. So if adversity hits them right away in the first half, they could fold. I would like to believe that won't happen with Rule as the coach. But the positive side to that is maybe ignorance is bliss with these guys, where Rule's got them playing so hard that it really doesn't matter where they play. We went on the road and beat Illinois 20-7 and truly handled them. Probably could have beat them worse. So there's good and bad any way you slice it, but they're 18 to 22-year-old kids, and at some point they're going to slip up because they are kids. So maybe Vegas is thinking this might be the week.
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning that the first few drives are. I'll tell you. What do you think? Did I get got?
I think it's a real story, but they're just hemorrhaging money, so they're trying to find a place to play, and that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, you build 2 major sports, the Baxter Arena and then the softball and baseball field, and they're also building a new sports complex, not a complex, like a new sports facility on the campus. Of course, you're going to be hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
So now they're looking like, oh shit, we didn't know this was going on. I mean, come on.
If you know anything about UNO sports too, they do not get good fan engagement, especially with Creighton being in Omaha. So the fact that they've built Baxter Arena, the baseball, softball complex, and the soccer stadium, those are 3 huge projects. And they're not really getting the fan support that they had hoped. So
the only thing that gets any kind of fan engagement is hockey.
Yeah,
and
truly.
The arena is fairly small, so you're not going to make a whole lot of money off that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because that was one thing that kind of caught my eye off guard. Is like, okay, all these people are new, so I don't think it was a situation where Trev was out running wild, cashing checks that he, had no business cashing. But and then you hope that with those bigger facilities, you bring in more revenue with that. But that's probably just not the case.
Plus, that was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, in the middle of a global pandemic.
If something actually went on, we would have heard about it a long time ago.
Yeah, just interesting. I think I mostly brought that up to kind of preach more of my theory. I feel like I'm the only one preaching that this is even a possibility. But nonetheless, Tyler.
It definitely is, but there's nobody more Nebraska than Trev Alberts. So if he leaves, I'll be hurt. I'll be real hurt.
Yeah, me too. And the only reason why I think it's a possibility is because I feel like there's, I don't know, 2 jobs maybe where you have the kind of influence in college football and college athletics in general that Ohio State has. So it just feels like that's the kind of job where if they come knocking, you got to go. So that worries me, especially because, like you said, he's hit nothing but home runs since Nebraska, the volleyball day in America.
Everything man touches turns to gold.
Yeah,
that's facts.
I love him so much. So Tyler, how are you feeling about Saturday?
I heard a lot of letdown spot talks, and I've said it before. I don't believe in that kind of thing. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you're wrong.
You just haven't been
I
betting
think,
long enough.
yeah, maybe that's it.
We'll
Maybe.
get you there.
Yeah. I don't.
He's just a
It's going to
baby.
be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game, tougher than a lot of people are letting on for sure. But if the defense just keeps doing what it's doing, and even if they take like a half step back, I think we still win this game pretty easily. The thing I'm worried about is what Harburg shows up on Saturday. Is it the throwing interceptions on the first play of the game, Harburg, or is it somebody that's gonna, run the speed option and get us down the field? Because I do think if we keep doing the same bullshit we've done the last two games, turning the ball over the first play that we have it, it's gonna be really hard to come back against a team that's a real D1 team. So
I do want to throw this out there that Michigan State's defensive line is very sneaky good, and not just good in the conference, nationally good. So
Yeah.
they could give our O-line problems, and if they're playing in our backfield, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah,
but you can say the same thing about Illinois, right? Like they have two round one, at least to start the year, round one draft picks on their defensive line. And they were impactful in the game, but not so much so that it ruined the game for us.
But even since that game, we've lost 2 or 3 more O linemen. So
I think one is okay. Getting Teddy out there, I think that's better for our offensive line. But yeah, losing the other guys is tough.
Yeah. I think
listen, nobody's sitting here hoping we lose, but there are the check engine light is coming on in my mind.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually these injuries might catch up to us. It's crazy how this team has improved despite losing all the talent that we had. But I think it's also worth mentioning that while Harburg did get away with those early turnovers the last 2 weeks because of the defense, when you look at the last 6 games, 5 of them we get out to an early lead. We control the game from a tempo standpoint. The other game we get punched in the mouth and we fold like a lawn chair. And now, it's in Michigan. It's a different story. It is what it is. But this team is not built in any way to come from behind. So if there is something fluky like a pick six or a special teams touchdown early, I think that's the real recipe for disaster. Maybe not like disaster, like we get blown out, but just losing this game, I think would be very gut punching, considering how bad Michigan State has been.
And I do believe that this is the biggest game of the year for us right now.
Absolutely.
Thus far. Getting that bowl game monkey off our back, I think, is going to do big things for the team. Like you've already seen the defense start playing like free and fast. So I'm hoping that with the weight of getting to a bowl game off their backs, hopefully the offense does the same.
And on the flip side, too, Michigan State is fighting to keep bowl eligibility now, where they might be a live dog there. You never know how bad teams are going to come out and play, I feel like. So I'm hoping we're the hungrier team, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a question, though, just because of the way that Matt Rule has changed this team in 1 year. Like you can feel it in his pregame speeches. Like this team is different. It's different this year, and you can feel that.
That man knows how to give a fucking speech. Let me tell you.
Louise.
Dude,
give that man coach of the year just because of that.
His one about the moms made me cry. That was tough.
So sad. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I did hear something that he's going to be doing away with like having a media presence after this year, just because he doesn't want to, He wants to give a glimpse of like what it's like to be a Husker, for recruiting purposes, but doesn't want that to be like a long-term thing, which I think would be a bummer. I get it. There's a team on the other side of North Platte that does things a little bit differently, and I'm okay with not being like them.
For sure.
Well, on to our weekly pick'em here. Pretty fruitful week. I did just put this together as we were recording, so if it's not accurate, let me know.
We're gonna have games on here from like 7 weeks ago.
So Oklahoma lost, UCF lost, Michigan State. They lost, right? They didn't beat Minnesota, did they?
No, they lost.
Okay, that's so I figured, but I didn't want to make sure. I put together a little parlay there, and I'm the only one who lost, so shame on me.
Was it North Carolina that lost it for you, right?
No, it was it was BYU or Florida winning either against Georgia or Texas, and neither of them came even kind of close to winning that for me. So free win there for you fellas. Good weeks for you guys again. 7-3, 8-2. Congratulations, fellas. Wait a minute. No. I did get one wrong. Minnesota. Brooke had that one. God damn it. There we go. Okay, so I think I got everything else right. Overall, pretty fruitful week.
Why are you saying it like that?
What do you mean?
What are you saying?
I'm saying it was a fruitful week. There's
say it one more time.
It's been a fruitful week.
God,
and you know what? I think
there's a T. There is a T in that word, Brandon.
Yeah, fruitful. Because
there you go.
Means you're getting the fruit.
I thought you kept saying frou week. Like, what does that even mean?
Oh no.
The way you sat up and got on that man's ass for how he said that was insane.
He just said it 3 times, and I'm like, I can't let this go any longer. I need to know what you're saying.
I thought you were just making fun of me because I kept saying the same thing over and over again. I didn't think that you thought there was anything wrong with what I was saying.
I didn't know what you were saying. I apologize. You're right. I'm sorry.
So another fruitful week this year.
There we go.
Just on the T here. Clean slate for us, fellas. I'm excited about it. Big week for the Big 12. A couple of elimination games there. Which
share your screen.
Oh shoot! Wait, you can't see it? Oh my gosh, you haven't seen any of this the entire time. I'm asking you guys questions like, is this right? Did I get this right? You can't even.
Yeah, we have no idea.
What a disaster.
I thought maybe you didn't want to share it because you thought it was wrong, so I just kind of let it go. But I was like, oh.
Okay, so here's the week that we had. Here's the fruit that I was mentioning earlier. 8-2 for you guys. Maybe not as lucrative of a week for me. And Nebraska blew all of our projections out of the water. So I'll chalk that up as a win. Granted, Purdue also exceeded those marks, but
I lost 3. Oklahoma, UCF, Michigan State.
Okay. Okay. There we go. Nope. There. Okay.
I think I lost.
I could have just let it roll, but
wait, did I?
1, 2. I don't think so. Just Oklahoma and UCF.
Yeah. You're good, Brooke.
All right. You know what? 2 errors on the fly like this. I'll chalk that up as a win.
We're improving, baby.
Progress.
All right. So to get us started, Big 12 matchup, Kansas and Iowa State. How are you guys feeling about this one?
Tyler?
Iowa State's playing some good ball right now.
God damn it. That's what I was going to say.
I think the luck of Billy Bean is starting to run out. Him and his long-ass legs. I know his name, but I like Billy Bean. It rolls off the tongue. So give me Iowa State.
You can't just change a human being's name because you like it better.
Sure I can. Just like you call Bryce Bruce.
I love calling him Bruce Young. I think that's such a funny name. Hilton Magic, baby. Weird things happen in Ames, especially with Kansas flying high. Give me the Cyclones.
If I was going to sell you on Kansas, I would sell you that it feels too good to be true for Iowa State. Like they're tied for first place in the Big 12 in November. Nobody had that coming. And it just feels like I feel like it's going to end eventually. But let me throw out some numbers for you. In the past 7 seasons, Iowa State is 17-3 in the Big 12 when they play in Ames when the sun sets before, during, or after the game, averaging 22 points a win. And get
Wait,
this,
whoa.
okay,
Before, during, or after?
before or during. I
Okay.
incorrectly included the after part because after I said that, I'm like, oh, that's all of the games.
Yeah, every game. Every game
Oh,
ever.
well,
That's all.
it's like except for that game where the sun just didn't set that day. Yeah, it would exclude that one. But okay, in the past 7 seasons, Iowa State is 17-3 in Big 12 home games when the sun sets before or during the game. So like evening
after,
night games. They average 22 points a win, and they're 3-0 against top 10 teams. It's magic in Ames, and I feel silly taking Kansas to be the one to kind of thwart that kind of intensity.
I know it's not Hilton. I know Hilton's their basketball arena, but Hilton Magic.
Yeah, feels like the same thing. Actually, you know what? I don't like the vibe of us all three picking Iowa State.
Immediately flips.
Yeah,
I was going to flip for a hot second, but I was like, nah, fuck.
You know,
I
'cause I
do think that Kansas can win this game. But I'm riding with the hot hand right now.
I've kind of come to the piece that I'm not going to win this season-long weekly pick'em, so I'm just going to avoid the unanimous bust going on here. So I'll take one for the team, fellas.
Also, Tyler, letdown spot. I know how much you believe in those.
Sure.
You know, that's a good point. You know what? I'm back on Iowa State. That's such a good point. That's such a good point. I can't believe I forgot that they just beat Oklahoma last week.
People just in football just say shit. Letdown spot. Like, what does that even fucking mean?
That's the biggest. There's the biggest win of the 21st century.
The look ahead. What else? What else other dumb shit do you guys say?
You can tell this guy doesn't gamble, Brandon.
He just doesn't get it.
That's just what people say that are trying to talk themselves into a horrible bet. They're like,
no,
that's dude, what you that was their letdown spot. Oh,
listen, that's what you say when you're trying to talk yourself out of a horrible bet, not into it.
Yeah, we put on vibes. Vibes have to be a component. So it is what it is. What, are you going to say that like there's no home field advantage now? Like that doesn't exist? All right, we're moving on. I'm tired.
Son of a bitch.
Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Ole Miss just a couple of point favorites here against Texas A&M, who has had an interesting up and down season. And I like Ole Miss, but this does kind of feel like a dumb game for them to lose, but not dumb enough for me to pick Texas A&M. They've burned me too much this year.
I've been waiting for their downfall because that's just what happens to Lane Kiffin, it seems. But I'm wrong every week, it seems also. So give me Ole Miss, yeah. At home with all that home field advantage, how can they lose?
In the words of Marcus Peters, I said, I think we ain't done yet. Texas A&M.
Let's fucking go. All right, I love it. Notre Dame and Clemson. I thought this game would be a lot more interesting coming into the season. I was very wrong about Clemson for several weeks. Oddly enough, I doubled down, I think, at some point, and it's been wrong. And now we got Dabo yelling at fans on local radio. I mean, what a disaster.
Dude, that was just 5 minutes of Dabo pumping up his own ego. I mean, he wasn't wrong about anything he said, but it just felt like he wanted to let everybody know.
Like, can you imagine like Matt Rule kind of going on a tangent like that? Like, it's just, I can't compute it.
No. But, I mean, when you're losing, crazy things happen to you as a head coach. So,
yeah.
Especially when you spoil that fan base into thinking they're better than they really are. But,
you know, I was also thinking about that. I'm like, it is before like this whole era with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence winning national championships. Is Clemson like that much better of a football program than Nebraska? Like, if they could do it, could we do it?
We could, but we don't. So,
yeah, we'll get there.
With that being said, fuck Dabo. Give me Notre Dame.
Let's go.
Yeah, pretty easy. Notre Dame.
Appreciate that. Missouri and Georgia. Oddly enough, the toughest game that Georgia will play this year.
Give me Missouri. There's a guy named Luther.
Oh, fuck you.
The He's gonna run the whole offense. He's gonna play defense too. Give me Luther Burden by 30.
I mean, I just try to culture Tyler and teach him some ball because you know how my son Tyler Sprinkle doesn't know ball. And he has to just be a real son of a gun.
The thing that sucks for Brooke is that I took the words right out of his mouth, so he can't say it anymore.
For the first time you said something I agree with and you said something that's correct. Luther Burden is him. So
Are you taking Missouri too?
I really want to, but no, Georgia.
Pussy.
And I would be very happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm still my gut, and for the same reason I think Michigan State's going to be better than they are, is the same part of my brain that's telling me that Missouri's not as good as people are telling me that they are. I got to see it, I guess, against Georgia.
Listen, I'll cut you a deal, Brandon. If Tyler changes his pick to Georgia, I'll change my pick to Missouri.
What you got, Brandon? How are you going to convince me?
I back-to-back national championship games. I mean, I don't know what Missouri. The best quarterback that they've had before this year is Drew Lock. I mean, they're. Yeah,
I just don't want to be the same side as Mush over there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about Georgia, so you do what you got to do. It doesn't matter to me in the slightest.
No, I got to commit to this Brooke bit. So give me Luther Burden by 35.
Appreciate that. Sticking to the bit. Another interesting game, LSU and Alabama. LSU's got probably the cleanest path as any two-loss team ever has to a playoff appearance, but it includes beating Alabama. There's going to be no defense played in this game whatsoever. So, get your popcorn out.
I heard this on a different podcast, but it's a very interesting stat. Okay. I don't know if you guys already know this, but there's been only one quarterback to beat Nick Saban 2 times. I think it's back-to-back years. Name that quarterback.
Oh, is it? I want to say
Deshaun Watson's the first quarterback that comes to mind, but I don't think that's it. No.
Not Johnny. Not Cam.
I mean, it's probably a pretty narrow list of quarterbacks who have beaten him one time. I feel like we can get this.
2 times in back-to-back years. Can you give me the year?
I can't remember the year, but it's an older quarterback. Played in the NFL. Not super old. Like in recent history, like you'll know his name.
I got nothing for you.
No, I think we can get this.
Does he play in the NFL currently?
He does not.
No.
Man.
Because it's got to be, you'd think it's got to be the same team.
LSU?
Did he play for the same team both years? Okay.
LSU. Was there any?
Is it
Jamarcus Russell?
Tim Tebow? No.
I will give this other hint. It's not the SEC.
Oh.
Well, then it can't be recent. If it was at his time at Michigan State, that was an eternity ago. Is it?
I said sort of recent in terms of he played in the NFL recently.
Michigan State.
Drew Brees.
That is the correct team.
It is
Drew
Brees.
Yeah,
oh no shit!
I did hear that.
Oh
I
my
did
God.
hear that.
That's crazy.
I heard that and I was like, what? That's wild. So I figured you guys
maybe I saw a tweet about it and I was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, that checks out.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, hand up. I stole that from another podcast, but I did think it was interesting.
Well, I mean, because of that, give me Alabama by 1 million. That's not
Because of that.
That's not happening.
Jaden Daniels Heisman revenge tour is back on LSU.
Let's go.
This could be his Heisman moment right here.
It is. It will be.
Give me LSU. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I put that at the wrong spot. Are you sure you want LSU or?
Yes. Yep,
okay.
That's what I was going to take.
I love how you're the one who brought this stat saying it hasn't happened in a bajillion years, and then you're just going to go against it like it doesn't exist.
I mean, if
like
Drew Brees can do it, then I think Jaden Daniels can as well.
All right. Yeah, good call. Good call. Virginia Tech and
He
Louisville.
was
This
talking
isn't
about
the
Drew
same
Brees
Alabama
like he was
team.
a fucking bum.
No, I didn't mean it like that, but just in terms of just size and athleticism, I think.
I mean, I'm a big time anti Drew Brees propagandist, so I do think that is factual. That if Drew Brees can do it, Jaden Daniels could do it. So I'll double.
I mean, we don't even need to talk about this next one. You can just put down
Louisville.
I want Virginia Tech so bad.
Brandon just wants absolute mayhem in the ACC.
But
Like,
I
so
also
he is.
know enough ball where I'm like, I'm not going to put my name on it. I'm rooting for it, but
I weirdly think we all have the same pick for this next game too.
I'm torn on this. I really like what Kansas State. Well, when you just look at the quarterback, I like Kansas State's situation probably 10 times better than I like Texas's situation. Even not 10 times. That's hyperbole. Let me walk that back. But I think that they found a good formula between Will Howard and Avery Johnson, and I think that. But in Austin, that's a tough place to play. Kansas, give me the Cats. Give me the Cats. They've let me down a couple of times this year. Let's fucking go.
Fuck them. Oh, you're a bitch.
I got to ride with my boy Jimmy. We have aligned forces in the Texas and UTEP fandom. I got to ride with my boy Jimmy.
Jimmy's going to be real sad on Saturday.
Jimmy Nekla.
Oh, okay, like an actual person.
Yeah.
I was like, do they have another quarterback that I don't know about? Okay, like an actual person. Okay, now I'm up to speed there. Okay, Bedlam, another Big 12 elimination game. Oklahoma State.
This game is bullshit. This game should be played at night and only at night.
Yeah.
So the only explanation I can think of is that when you're drafting out like networks and stuff, it's better to be on a network like ABC during the day than it is to be on ESPN at night. Because the ESPN night game is Kansas Iowa State. I'd imagine if Disney's picking which is going where, they'd want the better game on ABC during the day. So that's the only reason I can think of it. But yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I'm so bummed this game isn't at night because Bedlam at night in Stillwater, the last time this game will be played in 25 years. Ooh, goosebumps.
The sky could be so dark, but it's not.
Non-existent.
I wanna believe this game is gonna be close, but any way I look at it, I don't see a world in which Oklahoma doesn't absolutely kick their teeth in. So give me the Sooners. As much as I hate saying that.
I mean, it's just which Oklahoma team are we going to get? Are we going to get the Oklahoma team that went toe-to-toe with Texas? Dylan Gabriel went off. We thought he was going to be a Heisman favorite after that game, where the back-to-back weeks where this whole team's been mush.
Yeah.
And I think Oklahoma State's uniquely built to keep folks like Dylan Gabriel from getting hot. Ollie Gordon hasn't been stopped in a month. He's putting up crazy numbers at home. Even though it's a mid-afternoon game and not a night game, I think Stillwater is going to be insane. So I'll take the Cowboys here. I think they pull it off just because there's really no other option as an Oklahoma State fan. You got to win this game.
So I was kind of torn on this game, but I think Brandon just talked me to Oklahoma State. So give him to me.
Man, I'm in trouble.
Makes me love Oklahoma State even more.
Yeah.
What the?
I meant because both of you like Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, it's
no. Brandon
usually
said
my
he's in
logic's
trouble after I picked him.
Yeah, usually my logic's pretty flawed. I'll admit that.
Not
I believe
everything's
in
about
it,
you, Tyler.
but then Washington, USC. You see, there's also a third kind of game. We call it a bounce back game. I know Tyler probably doesn't believe in it, But this would be a spot for, I mean, both of these teams, they both played like shit last week. USC, I mean, I don't really know if they're even playing for anything anymore, but just the thought of them losing 3 straight games before the second week of November feels crazy to me.
They won last week.
They did. Yeah, you're right. So they just have one loss?
No, they have 2.
They have 2. They lost to Notre Dame and
Utah.
Utah. That's right. Okay, so they do have 2 losses. Okay. Yeah, give me Washington. I don't know my schedules. I don't know what's going on. Just give me the favorite.
I really
USC.
want to pick
Go ahead.
Washington, but just how they eat themselves, it's hard.
Pause.
But yeah, give me the Huskies, man. Let's hope they don't kill each other.
USC quite literally has the worst defense in Power 5. So I would be remiss if I took USC. So give me Washington.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess even if Michael Penix and Washington have like a C game, they're still going to put up 500 yards.
Yeah.
So that's tough to bet against. Then the big one, fellas, Nebraska at Michigan State. Straight up, who's the winner here?
Nebraska.
It's always red till dead.
Let's go. What do you have any score predictions? I anticipate it's gonna be a pretty ugly one. Give me 24-10. That feels like a safe medium with a defensive score.
23-7.
28-13. Also, yeah, 28-13.
That's a lot of points that they're giving up.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I don't like it, but I like the margin of victory. Give me that. Well, perfect, fellas. Anything else you'd like to add? I think we got a lot of winners. A very fruitful week ahead of us, I'd say.
Yes, I
Go
think
Big Red.
the fruit is very full this week.
Go Big Red. All right, fellas, you ready to keep it rolling?
Let's do it.
Welcome into Bookie, Brooke, and the boys. Casual crew, as always. We got Bookie, Brooke here, of course, and then we also got the boys, including myself and Tyler Sprinkle. Got a good week ahead of us, man. How's it going? Good deal. I appreciate that. Like, am I muted, or are they just tired of talking to me?
That just accurately describes the week.
Yeah,
Ready for the weekend. Ready to watch the ball.
It's been a grind, but here we are. We're ready to lose a lot of money.
I love that Tyler committed to the bit as well as I did.
I mean, you gotta hand it to you. You did what you gotta do.
Brandon was so confused.
You did mention losing a lot of money. I got to be honest, that's not something that we've done pretty recently here. As I pull up the screen, we got to make sure that I'm showing it this time.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see it.
We all had winning weeks. I didn't get the numbers on there, but Brooke went 3-2. Tyler crushed it. Not only going 3-2, but winning the 3 biggest bets, if I'm not mistaken. I've been mistaken in the past. Bolds are the winners. Obviously, the futures, haven't come through yet. So,
what was this $300 bet?
$300 bet was Colorado plus 17.5. They covered real late. It was real touch and go there for a minute.
I feel like an asshole for taking the Packers as my best bet.
Yeah,
That was
tough.
a bold move. It's a bold move. Well, I mean, you could have picked a 10-team parlay for your $500 bet.
I think did you hit 9 of them too?
9 out of 10. That's how they get
Damn.
you. Yeah, it was Oklahoma, the only team that missed, and it stunk because that was an 11 a.m. game, so like the whole day was.
So it was just dead right away.
Yeah, luckily my field goal bet at least made it through the 11 a.m. window, so I'm thankful for that. First time it's done that this season, so I'll chalk that up as progress. And then Florida, they scored 3 touchdowns, no field goals against Georgia. Really makes me question if Georgia's a really good team if they allowed 3 touchdowns and couldn't get a single stop down there. But
yeah, you're definitely not just mad, but
no,
yeah,
I'm not bitter about it at all. Fucking, at least it's not like Vanderbilt a couple weeks ago playing against Georgia where they were in field goal range. They're playing Georgia, so they're not going to score touchdowns, and they still go for it in the red zone. So
it was Mississippi State and Arkansas. It was 7-3, and they missed a 29-yard.
That's right. That's right. Oh, what a disaster! But this bet's gonna hit one time.
Are we gonna run it back this week?
Absolutely. and now all the SEC teams are playing, so that the odds are like plus 6,500. So I'm like, if I could just get this one, it's over for you guys. I'll tell you what, it is over. But I also got to admit, not a great feeling going into Sunday, knowing that the only way to save my week was the Broncos beating the Chiefs, but they came through. And they got me just on the positive end of things when it comes to dollars and cents. So good timing on that one, but it was not a good feeling Saturday night.
Yeah, Brandon and I won our Super Bowl on Sunday, so we can go through the NFL season feeling good about ourselves.
You know, for the Chiefs, it was a good preseason tune-up. So,
yeah, good preseason. I mean, I scored a single touchdown against the team who gave up 70 a month ago. I'm sure you feel real great about that.
I don't feel great about it, but in the whole scheme of things, 6-2 is not a bad spot.
Not a bad spot. Also, some AFC West news. Josh McDaniels got fired. Thought that was very funny.
What an awful coach.
It's crazy because I remember his time in Denver being such a disaster and such a dumpster fire, and how quickly that course ran out. He didn't even make it as long in Las Vegas, who's still paying John Gruden, I'm sure. And just to add another contract on the payroll for a coach who doesn't coach there anymore. Wow.
Love that for them.
Yeah, so Jim Harbaugh's going to have his pick of the AFC West teams between, them, the Chargers, assuming they make a move, and then, if the Chiefs want to get serious about football, maybe they'll get rid of their old geezer. We'll see. But to kind of update the season total, this is some pretty big milestones. I finally got out of plus 2,000 in the red, so I'll chalk that up as a win. Tyler's got back to triple digits. Brooke, no milestone for you. You get the green number. It's been green all year. No milestones for you.
Dude, I'm making up some ground here.
Yeah, Tyler,
I mean, look good.
Really is. Brandon's one stupid parlay away from being right back into this, but
no kidding.
I can't wait to see the parlay that he has cooked up. It's going to be a 20-team parlay spanning 3 different sports. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I realized after we got done recording, I'm like, oh, I have 3 dumb bets on the sheet this week. The field goal is obviously a dumb bet. The 10-team parlay and the Broncos is heavy underdogs. Those are all dumb bets. I got to limit the dumb bets here. I got some ground to make up, but I'm not going to get there by losing bets. So we got to pick and choose. No Chef Shanahan parlay this week, but
you know what? I might throw one together here
let's go.
Just to feel something.
Yeah, I'm going to bet Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown.
I mean, that's got to be negative minus 200 at this point.
The funny thing is they're on bye. So egg on your face.
Well, it is what it is. I'm a college football specialist here.
Yeah.
And
How
also, it
dare
wouldn't surprise me if Christian McCaffrey still found a way to score a touchdown.
Oh, he's always scoring.
The bye week defense is pretty weak.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like he could go to a stadium and just like hop into a game and still find a way to score a touchdown. So it is what it is. So we're all trending up. We all had winning weeks this week. All trending up. Hey, I think we're figuring it out.
Until I have an absolutely disastrous week and back to where I started.
But the blank slate here for another week. $100 bet. I guess I'll get it started with my typical here. Every SEC field goal or every SEC team to make 1+ field goals. I'm gonna keep pushing this until it hits. I just need to hit one time. That's it. And I mentioned this last week. It's just such a unique way of watching college football because typically, when you bet unders, you're rooting for everybody to score. You're having a great time. With this one, you're rooting for everybody to get in the red zone, and then you're immediately rooting for them to suck. It's just such a contrast of, great, they're on the 25-yard line. Now don't do anything else. For 3 plays, kick the field goal. So, yeah, Georgia's been the real killer to that because teams think that they got to score touchdowns to keep up with Georgia. You're not going to beat Georgia. Just kick a field goal. And they play Missouri this week. Maybe I think Missouri will kick a field goal. So I feel pretty good about it.
Okay, I have my first bet.
Go ahead. No, you.
I'll take Missouri plus 15.5.
I bet you couldn't name one player on that team.
There's this guy. I think he plays every position. He might be the best player that nobody's talking about. His name is Luther Burden. He's incredible.
Well, I'm glad you learned his last name from 5 minutes ago. So proud of you.
I said it earlier. You jerk. Going back to tape. Listen. Yeah, I can't believe nobody's talking about this guy. I'm the only one that's ever said his name, I think. So it's kind of crazy. Also, actually, give me a parlay. Luther Burden has 7 tackles and 2 touchdowns.
Dude, you better chill out before I just fade all 5 of your picks.
I would really appreciate the commitment to the bet if all 5 of your bets were Mr. Luther related.
Huh.
Over on
For
catches,
some
over
reason,
on
I'm really
yards.
liking Georgia minus 16 right now.
It's 15.5.
Sure. My $100 bet is Oklahoma minus 6.
You know, I noticed that we don't really do a whole lot of overs or totals.
I've tried to, but every time I put one on here, it's just not even remotely close. So,
gotcha.
I'm gonna stick to what I know, which is ball.
Makes sense.
Can you even do like individual bets with college, like individual statistics?
It's probably only for the bigger games. So, like, if you looked up player props on Alabama, LSU, they'd probably have it for that. But probably not the.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything for.
They should. Power 5, most teams.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was like a rule, like you can't bet on individual athletes in college.
You definitely can.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm just on a too ethical of a sports app here. Man,
love that.
So I'll pull this one out. Give me the. Let's see here. I just had it. Northwestern hosting Eastern Iowa. The over/under is 31.5. You know what? I'm actually going to say that one at Wrigley. I'm actually gonna jump ahead here and move that to the 500. I feel much more confident about that. That's a big number for really shitty teams.
What was the number?
31.5.
And you're taking the over?
Under, sorry.
Oh, okay. Tyler, you got one locked and loaded, or do you want me to go?
I do not. Yeah, you can go ahead.
For my $300 bet, give me Arizona money line at home against UCLA. This team is hotter than fish grease right now, and I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
Is that how you spell Arizona? That can't be how you spell Arizona.
Arizona.
Okay, so
You have the I and the R.
okay, that's it. I'm like this, and like I've done this before. Like I've typed out like Nebraska and been like, that doesn't look right. Okay, but no, I am actually illiterate, so that does make me feel a little bit better. That intuition
Omaha
still
public school education is really kicking in.
at its finest.
Okay, so for my wait, are we just skipping around?
Yeah,
I guess
however
so.
you want to
Yeah,
do.
I started it, so
Okay, so for my $200 bet, give me. I'm trying to find it again. Give me 1 second. Give me LSU +3. No way that comes back to bite me in the ass.
no way, no shot. I do got to say I'm pretty glad that we're recording this on Thursday because I would have absolutely taken TCU against Texas Tech, and that's not going well for them. So shout out us in the schedule that we put together. That's helping me out quite a bit. Let's see. For my $200 bet, give me for my $300 bet, give me Notre Dame -3.
Ooh, I like that. My $200 bet's gonna be Texas A&M money line.
Ooh.
I just think that line is stinky, and I'm not gonna fall for the trap of Ole Miss -3 at home against a team they're better than. Just like Tyler said, feels like a weird one. Ole Miss might lose, or Brandon, whoever said it.
Yeah, it's just because, it just feels like Ole Miss picks up a couple of losses a year that you look back and like, oh, well, they probably should have won that game. This does kind of feel like that.
Okay, so for my $300, give me the weekly Houston Texans -3 bet. Last week you mushed me, Brandon, but I'm still riding strong with them. You talked about it a little too much, and they lost.
I thought it was a good bet.
Yeah.
Is that what I said last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you put it on the board, and then you took it off, which was just enough to mush me.
Just enough to get my stinky little paws on it.
Yeah.
We need a instead of a dunce cap, we need a mush cap. Whoever's in last place.
Oh man, I be pushing out of my hair all season long.
Dude, what do we think about the Lunder? Oh wait, it's not in London. Fuck. It's in Germany.
It's in Germany.
Yeah.
No way that game goes under with those two teams, right?
I know. That's if it was in London, I would have bet it. But it's in Germany. I'm not sure about those lands yet.
I'm not too familiar with the grounds.
Yeah. Well, the Chiefs did light up Mexico.
That's true. Well, no, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
No, it wasn't. Are you talking about
the Rams?
It did get moved.
Yeah, to LA because
The
of the
Rams.
fires.
I forgot. At the last second, they moved that.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, it is the highest over/under total by a touchdown at 50.5. That's a lot. That doesn't seem like a lot. But I'm not touching it. What I am touching, I totally blanked. I had so there's that bet, and then there's Oklahoma. Give me Oklahoma for my $200 bet. Give me Oklahoma State +6.
Huh.
I like the points, and I think this game means too much to Oklahoma State to get blown out.
No, rivalry games, you're not wrong taking the points ever. That's why I put it as my $100 bet.
And I just hope it's a good game, because that would be such a letdown if it didn't end up being an Oklahoma blowout.
I feel you. For my $400 bet, give me K-State +4. I do think K-State wins outright, but I think it'll be close either way, so give me the 4 points.
Like nothing's really jumping out at me this week.
There's a lot of good spreads, but
Wait, why is UCLA only favored by 2.5 at Arizona?
because they're cheap.
You see, my problem when I see a spread that I like is that like I don't trust myself anymore. So I'm like, oh, I really like this spread. I'm like, well, then you're probably fucking wrong. So
Who do you like there, Tyler?
I mean, I like UCLA, but with how Arizona's been playing, that's probably why it's only 2.5 points.
Brandon, can you go ahead and bump my Arizona money line to my $500 bet?
Did Tyler talk you into it?
Just the thought process there. It wasn't Tyler specifically, but he said nothing jumped at me, and then he goes, UCLA. It wasn't you, truly. It was just what you said.
I got burnt on this one time this year, but I'm going to go for it again. Give me the over on the Cal-Oregon game. That's at 59.5.
Boy, that's a lot of points.
59?
Yeah.
Nah.
Brandon, you could take the opposite.
Okay, I got to cook something up here real quick, because I feel really good about my $500 bet, but I got to see what I got to cook something here. So the first part of my $500 bets is Nebraska -2.5. Because I don't have much analysis that we haven't already gone over. Michigan State stinks, and I am very willing to put my $500 bet on the line for them.
I like that.
Do we think the Kansas State Texas goes over 49.5?
I would think so, but maybe not. They both. If you gun to my head, I would say over.
That's what I'm thinking. But I'll do this. Give me the Cleveland Browns -8 against the Cardinals. Rookie quarterback on the road. Just traded one of their offensive linemen. Give me Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett and the Browns -8.
Interesting.
That's a lot of points.
All right, last time I'm going to shuffle, but can you move K-State to my $300 bet? And my $400 bet will be Iowa State -2.5.
Let's go, Clones.
All right, I feel good about that now.
I think you got a good slip there. Oh my gosh, why can't I find Oregon on here?
Has anyone had a perfect week yet?
No.
Oh, Brandon, I can find that for you. So you look for your pick,
I'll
find it.
But no one's been the elusive 5-0.
The over is -110. if that's what you're looking for. Unless you're going to fade me, then fuck you. You can figure it out.
Okay. No. Okay. They're playing Cal, right? They're not even showing up on my FanDuel. Okay. Backup plan. When in doubt, just go to a parlay calculator.
So what do you guys think of the World Series?
Also, here's another thing I wanted to talk about. I hear a lot of folks complain about the playoff format because none of the top seeds advanced very far. Do you guys think that there's any truth to that? Is there any validity? Yeah.
No. You stay locked in if you're a good team. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it. Okay, plus 264. So give me Nebraska minus 2.5 and the Oregon under.
What's your reasoning on liking the Oregon under?
I don't think Cal's going to score a lot of points. I think if that over does hit, it's going to be because Oregon scores 50, which is very possible. But I think it's more like a 35-10 kind of game, 42-10 kind of game.
Tyler's face is killing me.
Good for you. Listen, I've been right more than you have, so I don't care what you say.
I mean, I think I've had pretty good success fading you so far this year.
I don't know about that, but maybe. Let's see. Let's lay it out on the table. Let's let the gridiron talk, bitch.
What's gonna piss me off is that we both miss because Nebraska wins by 2, and the under still hits. So I would be the
very
victor.
Possible.
Don't even get anything to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
What a disaster that would be.
That would stink.
Oh, perfect. Should be a good week here. Sorry, I kind of cut off the baseball talk that I initiated. Yeah,
I don't think I did. But yeah.
Well, I asked a question, and then as soon as anybody started to answer, I cut it off. As far as the playoff format goes, you did initiate the conversation.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
Credit. I think you're just looking to. Are you looking for a fight?
No, I was the one that asked what do you guys think of the World Series, which initiated the talk, and then you said, "What do you guys think of the playoff format?"
You're right. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with the play. I don't even
get out of my way, dude. Anymore. Get out of my way. I'm coming.
Oh man.
Well, it should be a good week, fellas. Anything else you'd like to add before we go our separate ways?
Tune in.
Rangers cheated.
Christmas night, pay-per-view boxing, Brandon Shanahan versus Tyler Sprinkle.
He ain't won none of that, I promise you.
Oh, man. Only in a mud bath. That's the only way you'll get me there.
Ooh, I'll be squealing around like a little piggy.
Well, perfect. That's all I had. Got a lot of winners on the table this week. Got daily college football content out every single day. Basketball season's around the corner. I don't know what we're doing for that yet, but it'll be pretty cool. Can't wait for it. I got to learn a lot about basketball. I'll tell you what. Let's go. Anything else you'd like to add, fellas?
Go Big Red.
Oh, Big Red.
I said it first.